Why does your mouth water when you see your favorite dish even before you've tasted it? Let's dive into the fascinating world of psychology to find an answer. This intriguing phenomenon is a part of a learning process called classical conditioning, where two stimuli become associated. It's not just about food. This concept permeates our daily lives, influencing how we react to various situations. To get a clearer picture of this, we can turn to a famous experiment by a Russian psychologist named Ivan Pavlov. A famous experiment by a Russian psychologist named Ivan Pavlov can help us understand this better. Ivan Pavlov, a Nobel laureate, wasn't initially interested in psychology. His focus was physiology, specifically, the digestive system of dogs. Now picture this. Pavlov in his lab, surrounded by dogs, and a heap of food. He noticed something peculiar. The dogs started drooling, not when they bit into the food, but the moment they saw it. Curious, right? Pavlov, always the keen observer, decided to turn his observation into an experiment. He came up with a plan. Every time he presented food to the dogs, he'd also ring a bell. At first, the dogs didn't pay much attention to the bell, they were too busy enjoying their meals. But Pavlov was persistent. He kept ringing that bell, meal after meal, day after day, and then, something remarkable happened. Pavlov rang the bell, but this time without presenting any food. And guess what? The dogs started to drool. They were salivating at the mere sound of the bell, even though there was no food in sight. This, my friends, was the birth of the understanding of classical conditioning. Pavlov had managed to create a connection in the dogs' minds between the sound of the bell and the anticipation of food. They had been conditioned to associate the bell with mealtime. This simple experiment by Pavlov has had profound implications in our understanding of human behavior. And that's the tale of Pavlov's dogs, a story of curiosity, observation, and the power of association. So, what does Pavlov's experiment teach us about classical conditioning? Well, at its core, it reveals the fundamental principle of learning through association. Let's take a quick recap. Pavlov presented food, an unconditioned stimulus, to his dogs, causing them to salivate, an unconditioned response. He then began to ring a bell, a neutral stimulus, just before presenting the food. Over time, the dogs began to associate the sound of the bell with the food. Eventually, the dogs would start to salivate at the sound of the bell alone, even without the food. This salivation in response to the bell became a conditioned response, and the bell itself became a conditioned stimulus. Through this experiment, Pavlov demonstrated that behaviors could be learned and even altered through association. It's a powerful concept that forms the basis of much of our understanding of learning and behavior. And that, in a nutshell, is what classical conditioning is all about. Stay curious, keep questioning, and until next time, remember, psychology is all around you.